Thank you. Okay, where we left off in the dinim of coloring on Shabbos. So we're discussing that there's an argument in halacha, different opinions about if you can soil a cloth napkin. Some people say you could, some people say you can't, because you're not really ruining it. Other people say you are ruining it. So it's better, obviously, if somebody has to wipe up a spill or blood or whatever it may be, they should preferably use disposable things, either tissues, napkins, gauzes, cotton, that you throw out that are made disposable. Then for sure there's no issue. So it works really in 3 stages. The best thing to use is disposable things. If not, you can use a cloth, but preferably not the color of what you're wiping up. If you're wiping blood, don't use a red one. And if you can't, then that's all that exists. So then there's no question, halachically you could do it. Okay, so then we started discussing about adding coloring to food and to drinks. Now, the halacha is ein tzvia ba'ichlin. There's no, even, by the way, not everybody agrees with that, but the halacha is there's no coloring when it comes to food. There are opinions in halacha that say, but by drinks there is coloring, especially by water. By other drinks, most poskim say there isn't, even though some poskim write like this. By the way, that's only food and drink that you're eating or drinking. But if you're coloring something for decorative purposes, or other people, as everybody knows, when fruit stores sell fruit, so they add color to the fruits that it should look better than it really does, than it really is. Or they want to sell products, they'll make it look nicer. How do I know? Because first of all, people do it. The second is it's even discussed in halacha if you're allowed to do that. Because you're cheating, you're making the object look better than it really is. But anyway, so I'll give you a simple example. Some people will make oranges. When they sell oranges, they'll spray it with a spray that makes it look more orange outside. So that for sure you're not allowed to do on Shabbos, because that you're not doing for food. You're doing it to sell it, to make money selling it. So that's for sure forbidden. As far as liquids, again, if it's being done for decorative purposes, that you're not allowed to do. We learned also what happens if you want to make wine red, okay, and you have white wine, and you want to add a little bit of red wine to make the white wine red. So there are opinions in halacha that you can't do it, because then you're not doing it for taste, you're just doing it for color. But most opinions, that's the way we hold, that you're definitely allowed to add red wine to white wine to make it look red, because it's still food, it's drink. Better would be, according to all opinions, if you first put in the red wine and then you add the white wine, so for sure there's no problem, because then you're not coloring the white wine, because the red wine is there, you're just adding white wine to it, okay? But as far as coffee, tea, and all those things, there's no problem making them on Shabbos or the Kool-Aid type of thing, you take powder and mix it into water to make it a colorful drink. All those things are not a problem at all. You can add color to any beverage, or as long as you're drinking it or eating it, not for decorative purposes. What?
If you have a utensil full of just clear water, and then you have some liquid which is yellow, for example, can you add it?
Like food coloring that's yellow?
Not food. It's not food.
What do you want to add?
You have a utensil. There is a clear water in it, and then you have some other liquid which is yellow or red. Can you add that to it? Why
do you want to make it look yellow?
I didn't want to bring the real sample, but the sample is when you go to the bathroom. And
we're going to talk about that in a second. Let's talk about that right now. A lot of toilets there's a container in there. When you flush the toilet, it makes the water blue. Okay, it makes the water blue. So like everything else in contemporary halacha, there's 2 opinions if you should use it, if you're allowed to use it on Shabbos. Again, you're coloring the water, and it's obviously not for food purposes. Okay, it's to sanitize it, it's to make the water look nicer, whatever. So a lot of opinions in halacha say you're not allowed to, because again, you're coloring the water and it's not for food. It's not for other poskim, right? It's not really coloring the water, it comes and you flush it again, and that whole thing. But it's definitely better, because there's a lot of opinions in halacha that say you shouldn't do it. Yeah, but you're coloring the water, that's the bottom line of it. The bottom line, yeah, it's cleaning it, because when the water...
It's not for the color, it's for cleaning.
Yeah, but the water is turning blue. The bottom line is you're coloring water, inevitably, it's a psikration, you're for sure coloring the water. Even though your intent is just to sanitize the bathroom, to clean it, so to speak, but the bottom line is you're coloring the water. So I can't say, according to there are opinions that say you're allowed to do it. Most opinions say it's better not to use it, not to do it. But again, if somebody is in a place and they need the bathroom and the toilet has that stuff, they can go and flush the toilet.
No, I'm not talking about washing body, but...
Just actual urinating?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. And that's
So,
yellow most of the time.
by the way, that number one, that's like similar to the napkin that you're wiping up the blood spill with. But you should know, in Bnei Brak, they do certain things to prevent that on Shabbos, of coloring the water when you go to the bathroom, and they make
Really?
Yeah. Certain people in Bnei Brak, they do certain things in the water to make it that it shouldn't color the water. But again, normal halacha, it's not a problem. I'll tell you where you do have a shaila. In fact, he talks about this here also. A urine test. Okay? Testing urine by placing a specially treated stick into the urine, involves the prohibition of coloring, because the stick changes colors when placed in the urine. So then a urine test, then you're actually coloring the urine, the stick with the urine. So they write, in case of need, one must consult the halacha guidance because there are those that are makel, other people are makel, but there are a lot of opinions say, again, you're coloring the stick. We're not talking about a life-endangering situation. Somebody that has to do sometimes high sugar, diabetics, or other, the need to test, that's a whole different story. That's, many times pikuach nefesh. But stam to do a test by putting a stick into the urine, coloring the stick, and you see different colors, shows different results, so that they write you shouldn't do it. Unless if somebody must do it, then there are opinions that hold you can do it. What?
Could you squeeze a lemon in the water? Squeeze a lemon.
That's another problem of squeezing. You can't squeeze a fruit on Shabbos into liquid. You can squeeze it onto food. Like if you have a salad, you can take a lemon and squeeze the lemon directly onto the salad. But you can't do it into an empty container, and you can't do it into water. And the only reason, what?
Why?
What's the difference between onto a salad, yes, and onto liquid, no? Or into an empty container, no? Because the Gemara says, Mashka haba la'ochel ka'ochel dami. Liquid that goes onto food has a din of food, not liquid. Whatever the reason for that is, but that's what halacha says. That mashka bala oichel ka'ochel dami. Liquid that's going on to food, then you're allowed to do it. Because it's not squeezing liquid, which is chita, by the way, which is a tool of dosh, of threshing, but then you'd be allowed to do it. In fact, I know we're off topic, but some people hold, if you want to squeeze lemon into tea, some said doesn't hold of it, that you can take a spoon of sugar and squeeze the lemon onto the sugar, because the sugar officially is, according to those opinions, food. So now you're squeezing the lemon onto food, and then you put the sugar in the tea. But the Tzemach Tzedek doesn't hold to that because he holds salt and sugar have a din of liquid. A lot of poskim hold like that. There has a din of liquid, so you couldn't do it. You're still squeezing, okay, but it's not a problem of coloring because it's for food. And for food, there's no problem with coloring, like we said. Okay, so what?
Can you take a habit to squeeze some cinnamon powder?
Okay, we're not learning schita now. Now we're learning coloring. Let's take to the coloring. Okay, so now, so the bottom line is, we learned that coloring the skin is forbidden on Shabbos, okay? So any type of makeup which colors the skin is technically not allowed to be done on Shabbos. So let's give an example. Let's say you have lipstick. So, right? So you can have liquid lipstick, which I think they have in Israel, but even that you can't do on Shabbos, because you're still coloring the lips. It's part of your body, and you're coloring the lips, so that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. If you have a lipstick, which is actually then when you put the lipstick on your lips, then it's also the malacha of smoothing, which is mamachik, which is another malacha in the Torah. That's why you can't use creams on Shabbos, because you're smoothing. One second. You're smoothing, especially stick. That's why you can't use stick deodorant on Shabbos. You can't use a bar of soap on Shabbos. You can't use all those things because you're actually smoothing the surface and scraping the surface, which is the same malacha. Scraping and smoothing is the same malacha, so you can't do it on Shabbos. There was a time somebody made what's called Shabbos makeup. Now that Shabbos makeup they created, which most of the Rabbanim in the world were adamantly against it. But the way what they did was they created some of the makeups that's not oil-based. It's not oil-based, and therefore it doesn't stick to the skin. It's very loose. In other words, to give you an example, if I take this dollar bill, forget Shabbos, okay? If I take this dollar bill and put it on top of the paper, I didn't color the paper. Okay? The problem when you color, like we learned, the difference between writing and coloring, you're changing the paper. You're changing the skin. You're doing something to the skin. So they wanted to create it, they did, but nobody agreed with it. They created a Shabbos makeup, they still sell them. The Shabbos makeup that it only is like on top of the skin, rather in the skin. So you're not coloring the skin, you just put the color on top of this, like a dollar bill on top of the, but it's not really coloring. But now, to take off makeup on Shabbos, that you're allowed to. But you have to know how to take it, halachically, how you take it off. What?
You can't dab it on.
Dab what on?
Lipstick.
When was the last time you put on lipstick? Okay. When you go ask your mother. I'm going to ask a question. Go home and ask your mother if she can ever put on lipstick by dabbing it on. Ask her.
It's not with coloring.
Huh?
It's not with coloring.
I know. You're talking about mamachik. No, I'm saying, even ask her if she can just put on lipstick like that, if it's going to work. That's beside the coloring. There's two issues with stick lipstick. Number one, smooth mamachik, and also coloring. So if you have, let's say, let's say you have liquid toothpaste, lipstick, you have liquid lipstick, so there will still be a shaila of coloring, it won't be a shaila of mamachik.
So the powder, what was wrong?
The powder is basically, because it's oil-based, and because it's oil-based, it sticks to the skin. They tied it because it was still, even though it didn't stick to the skin, it's still connected to the skin and was coloring, and it's not like, nobody says when I put this on the book, I colored it green. But when you put makeup on the skin, it's coloring. You're coloring your face. And therefore, I'll give you an example. Nail polish, to put on nail polish on Shabbos is also forbidden because you're coloring the nails. Even if you put on clear nail polish is also coloring the nail. It's like we learned, you can't take a red picture and add more red paint to it. It's still coloring. So even if you take a natural color of nail polish, it's still, bottom line is you're still adding color to the nail, which you wouldn't be allowed to do. Now removing
Powder deodorant?
Powder deodorant would be allowed.
Would be allowed. So what about
It's not coloring.
turning your skin white?
No, that's not coloring. Okay, to be continued.